Welcome into Chicago Bears Now. I am your host, Harrison Graham. We are just about 3 months away, actually less than 3 months away. It's getting here quick from the NFL Draft, and obviously the Bears have big decisions to make this offseason, both in the draft and in free agency, but especially in the draft with that number one pick. And I do think we have to consider the possibility that they keep that number one pick. So I think as things sit right now here in early February, whenever you're watching this, I think 5 players, not necessarily for the Bears, but in general, are in play for the number one pick. I think for the Bears, it's these first 2 guys specifically, Alabama edge rusher Will Anderson Jr., Georgia defensive tackle Jalen Carter, but then you've got the 3 quarterbacks, Alabama quarterback Bryce Young, Ohio State's C.J. Stroud, and then Will Levis, Mayo boy, out of Kentucky. Now, I think it's pretty clear at this point that the Bears are a long shot to draft a quarterback. You never know. I do think Ryan Poles will do his diligence, but I expect him to stand behind Justin Fields and build around him and then draft a player or trade down. And if they don't draft a quarterback, I do think right now, before the NFL Combine, and maybe someone shoots up, it is Jalen Carter or Will Anderson. So coming up, we will analyze Will Anderson Jr. versus Jalen Carter for the Bears. Who makes more sense? Who's the better pick? Who's the riskier pick? The safer pick? We've talked about both these guys a lot, and we will continue to do so. So stay tuned for that. But speaking of the draft, let's hit 60,000 subscribers here on Chicago Bears Now. We are almost there, less than 400 away. We're bringing you draft content every week. And guess what? When we get to 60,000 subs, we are doing a live fan-led mock draft. As soon as we hit 60K, the next Tuesday live show we will do a live fan-led mock draft. We will screen mirror the mock draft simulator. You guys will get to make the picks. I, for one, cannot wait. So let's get to 60,000 subs and make it happen here on the channel. All right, let's start with Jalen Carter as a potential number one overall pick for the Chicago Bears. He is the top defensive tackle in this class, obviously. You've got a guy like Brian Bresee floating out there, but he is not the talent that Jalen Carter is. Look, you look at his raw stats, and it doesn't jump off the page. But remember, he is a defensive tackle in college. 32 tackles, 7 TFLs, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 3 pass breakups. Had a lot of pressures. Pro Football Focus isn't a perfect system, but they did grade him as their highest graded defender here in the 2022 college football season. So I think that is noteworthy. You turn on the tape and you see a guy with special ability. Now, what I will say is you also see a guy that it feels like at times he takes some plays off, and I do think that led to some inconsistent production. The production wasn't always there for Jalen Carter. Now, I love the talent. Some of these guys, they get into the NFL and they start making money, and they really are just like, yeah, I'm going to take it to the next level now that this is my job. And I do think we do have to recognize that how many times, as Matt Eberflus said, the 3-tech defensive tackle makes this defense go. I mean, he talked about it all year last year when he took the job on into the season. It is a area of focus for this team. It's why they wanted Larry Ogunjobi in free agency last year. Well, Jalen Carter is the guy that can come in and do that in the draft. Bears could certainly address it in free agency with Deron Payne or Javon Hargrave, but Carter is going to be a strong candidate for Chicago if they keep that number one pick. Now, what is the bigger need on the Bears' defensive line? Do you think it's defensive tackle, or do you think it's edge? Type DT for defensive tackle or edge for edge rusher, defensive end. Let me know what you guys think is the bigger need for Chicago down in the comments. Today's show is sponsored by Athletic Greens, and if you go to athleticgreens.com/chatsports, you can get going with AG1. Listen, it's been cold here in the Metroplex. I was lacking energy this morning, but AG1 gave me the energy that I need. Football season can be draining at times, and recently I've lacked that extra push to get a morning workout in before work. Now, I'll admit I didn't work out today, but I was still up and at 'em, ready to come into work despite it being cold and overcast. Now with my morning scoop of AG1, I'm back in my normal routine. Not only is AG1 helping me get back into good habits, I'm already seeing better digestion as well. Improving my gut health is something I've needed to do for quite a while, and now that is happening with the simple scoop every single day. Covering my nutritional basis for the day literally couldn't be easier, which is why I trust Athletic Greens. I just mix 1 small scoop of AG1 with water and drink it first thing in the morning. It is done that easy. It also costs less than $3 per day. Pretty good deal if you ask me. It's a really effective daily habit with the highest quality sourced ingredients. It's a win-win. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. So go to athleticgreens.com/chatsports. That is athleticgreens.com/chatsports. Check it out today. Link is in the comments and in the description down below. Like I said, it promotes gut health. It helps support your immunity. Gives you that energy boost that you need when you get out of morning to start your day. athleticgreens.com/chatsports. All right, we talked about Jalen Carter. Let's talk about Will Anderson Jr. Anderson is the top edge rusher in this draft. 2 straight years and really 3 years. I mean, he was good his freshman year as well. Just incredible production at Alabama. I mean, you got to factor in playing in the SEC as well, going up against NFL talent every single week. 58.5 tackles for loss in college. That's well over 1 per game, almost a sack per game at 34.5. He was kind of not the opposite because Carter had some production, but he had incredible production at Alabama. That was not an issue. Now, there has been other questions for Anderson when it comes to Chicago. Is he a little undersized? In a 4.3, defensive ends are typically 250, 260 plus. He's more in that 240, 235 range. I've countered that with, if he's that talented, you should be able to make it work. But maybe that's a bigger concern for the Bears. I'm not sure. I do know this. You look at this defensive line, whether it's Will Anderson, whether it's Jalen Carter. This group has to improve. I mean, this front four is not going to get it done moving forward. I think Justin Jones is a solid player. I think he could be maybe your second starting D-tack or a heavy rotation guy. I think Gibson and Robinson can be rotation pass rushers, but this team was dead last in sacks. Jaquan Brisker, a rookie safety, led this team in sacks with 4. That cannot happen again. You've got to get better. I mean, to me, you should be looking to double this number. You should be a 40-sack team next year. The Eagles and Chiefs led the NFL in sacks, number 1 and 2. They're in the Super Bowl. You know how you win? You get a quarterback, you protect a quarterback, and you get after the quarterback. That's it. I think the Bears have the quarterback, but they don't protect him well enough, and they don't get after opposing quarterbacks. You need more of the ingredients to win football games, and building in the trenches is going to help you do just that. So pick one to draft. Who would you rather have? Type WA for Will Anderson Jr., type JC for Jalen Carter. Pick one of these defensive talented players in this NFL draft. If you had to pick one, who would you rather select? Now, for me, when you look at who has the edge, 5 categories here. Production, Will Anderson. He was more productive. We outlined that pretty well for you guys. I do think Jalen Carter's got the more upside. What is kind of a new theme in the NFL? If you can get a disruptive interior pass rusher, that goes a long way. Look at the Super Bowl teams. Javon Hargrave, I think, had 11.5 sacks this year, tons of pressures. Chris Jones, 15.5 sacks. They're game wreckers. Aaron Donald over the years. Like, if you can find that interior guy that can do that, that's huge. I'll give him the upside edge. Fit, I think Jalen Carter probably also fits better. He's that 3-tech. Matt Eberflus has talked about how the 3-tech is the engine to this defense. I will give him the edge in that regard. Instant impact, I would probably guess Will Anderson Jr. I think just sticking your hand in the dirt and rushing the passer is probably easier than learning everything in terms of being an interior defensive lineman. You got to focus on the run and stopping and getting after the quarterback. In Anderson's case, he can just put his hand in the ground and go. Safer pick, probably Will Anderson Jr. I think he has a better chance of being productive right away and long-term. Carter, there's been some questions about his motor at times. He wasn't as productive in college, so if one of these guys is going to bust, I think it's more likely that it's Carter. So it's a tough call. It really is. I think Will Anderson is a 12-year pass rusher that could be 10-plus sacks a year for a long time. It's not a guarantee. Jalen Carter could be generational, or he could just be a decent player. So what do? Do you go for the home run? Do you go for the double? It's a tough call if you're the Chicago Bears. Now, I will say trading down is still preferable, especially if you trade with the Colts, because you're basically still guaranteed that one of these guys are there at 4. Then kind of the decision's made for you, and you almost like that because you're getting extra capital, and then you just pick who's there, right? Like, you don't have to overthink it. You just take who's available, and you get extra picks and or players in the process. So that is the ideal scenario. Now, other trade down targets, and again, trading down and getting Anderson or Carter is still a possibility, but if you trade down further, for example, Myles Murphy, Tyree Wilson, 2 really talented edge rushers out of Clemson and Texas Tech. If you want to go offensive line, Peter Skoronski and Paris Johnson Jr. Brian Bresee is another defensive tackle in this draft that you could get. I didn't mention the receivers, but Quentin Johnston, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jordan Addison, some other guys if you trade down a little bit further. I don't think a receiver goes top 10 this year, but there are other guys that you can get. But again, you have to be prepared to take a player at number 1, and right now, I think that's down to 2 guys, Jalen Carter or Will Anderson. Now, what do you guys think the Bears will do with the number 1 pick? You think they'll keep it? Type K, they'll make the pick. Or type T, if you think they'll trade it. I'm still leaning trade. I think they will, but it's not a guarantee. It's not a guarantee at all. So let us know what you think, and I'll be reading your comments. All right, subscribe to the channel. Hope that breakdown made sense as we took a look at Will Anderson Jr. and Jalen Carter, plus other scenarios for the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. We will continue to bring you guys draft content every single week. And again, when we get to 60,000 subs, fan-led mock draft live on the channel. I cannot wait for that, so go ahead and subscribe right now.